machine I went through. Well, I started drinking for pastime. I just can't quit drinking that old booze. Now I'm driving nails in my car.
So Jarred, you're putting on the barn gravel race, or it's not really a race, right?
No.
Barn gravel.
Anything but a race.
Anything but a race,
Yeah.
right? And so I was interested in this event because I always had this idea in our area of putting on a bicycle event myself, but I never was able to do it, or I never found the time to do it. And I feel like you're doing something that I wanted to do a long time ago. And I feel like this would be a great opportunity to share with everybody, like how you're actually doing it, how you feel about it, how do you plan for it and stuff like that. So, but yeah, tell me who is Jarred and, you know, who you are, man.
Yeah, so someone who just got into cycling, I should say, within the last 8 years, and have learned to love just what it offers in the way of being with other people and being outside, just enjoying, you know, the beauty that surrounds us here and the adventure that it often takes us on. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, I've just learned to love this area and the people that make up cycling local to where I live, and the roads and the pathways that we've kind of pieced together to make a great day on a bike. I live here in Berks County, and we've been fortunate enough, my wife and I, and we've got 2 kids, to be on a space here that we call home, that has a lot of room to spread out. And so we've also enjoyed, you know, to bring people together and just kind of enjoy the space with them.
Yeah, it's great. Do you see, because I've lived all over the United States, and this, like, Berks County, or at least our area here, has some of the best cycling I have ever experienced in the United States, believe it or not.
Yeah.
The diversity, now we don't have huge mountains here to climb like out in Colorado, but the diversity of terrain between Amish country and the Schuylkill River Trail and some of the mountain biking on Mountain Penn. Yeah. Do you think that's, even though you're kind of new at this 8 years, do you feel that diversity?
Totally. I mean, you're one of many who I've heard say the same thing, who have, you know, they've ridden all over the world and have experienced a lot on a bike, and they'll say the same thing, that Berks County offers something that's really unique. And I think it is the diversity that's here. You know, you have all the connecting trail systems, you have the mountain bike scene here that gets you single track. You have beautiful quiet roads where you're surrounded by agriculture and farm fields. Yeah. And you know, I think the terrain is diverse. Yeah, there's not a lot of long, steep climbs that are in this area, but boy, you know, you get out on a bike and you realize quickly around here you can't go far until you have to go up at some point. So there's a lot of great diversity.
That's the problem, being bigger, and you're kind of a big guy too, man. It's like these rolling hills in Pennsylvania just kind of wear you down for a while. They do. So when did you first start? So your ride, I'm not going to call it a race, right?
Please don't.
Yeah, don't call it a race. This is more of like, and we'll get into that, but it's called what? Barn gravel. Barn gravel, right?
Yeah. So my ideal day on a bike personally is it's a day that involves a variety of terrain, and some of which you don't even know what you're getting into. Mm-hmm. So I like the element of surprise that cycling offers us. I still find myself having that kind of childlike curiosity on a bike, when I'm like looking up the road and I wonder what's up around that corner. I wonder what's over that hill. You know, I wonder what's down that path.
Exactly.
And so I love the fun and the excitement and the surprise that comes with it. So, you know, I wanted to develop something that provided that for people. And as I started to learn some of the connectors and how this whole county pieces together, I realized, like, holy smokes, we can put something together here that gets all of this, road, single track, dirt, gravel, maybe even a foot in the creek at some point. Like, wow, this could be fun, and start and end here from our barn, and turn it into a bike party.
What you said there is true, because that's what I felt when I came here and started riding my bike. I felt like a kid again.
Yeah.
Because it's so interesting when you go on a bike ride in Berks County. There's so many little treasures and pathways you can discover, and even now, 12 years of riding here, or 10 years of riding here, I'm still finding new things.
Yeah.
Every month I go out riding,
Yeah.
and that's really great. So you had this idea to do a gravel ride, to get people together. Is this the first edition?
This is actually the third.
Third edition.
Yeah, it's the third edition. The first year was a whole lot more casual, and I should say in my approach to kind of getting the word out. I used Facebook and just literally invited anybody who I was connected with on Facebook to a day of again, starting from the barn and ending at the barn. And I don't know, I think we had 40-ish people, and we had a great day. And out of that came this idea, like, wow, this is not really difficult when you have the right people and the right energy. And maybe I should scale this up a little bit. So last year, second edition, I opened it up, put it on Bike Reg to be a little bit more official.
Yeah, so the first time it was just getting a group of people together.
Show up with $20 in your pocket, and
there you go.
We'll cover the cost and have a great day. So
it's important to go on. I mean, some people say, well, why would I want to pay for an event or anything like that when a group of guys could just get together and do what you did in the first time. But I will tell you this, as somebody who uses Bike Reg, I may never find your event unless it's on Bike Reg, because that is one of the things that people use to kind of find things in their local area, is on Bike Reg. And so your participation probably went up.
It really did, And I think just people who were there the first year had such a good experience. And like I said, like the people here are, the stoke's high when we're together. And it just, I think as people see pictures and hear stories of a day, they're a bit like, man, I'd like to be a part of that. So year two, word traveled, and I had 90 people registered, and the weather wasn't looking great. From the outset, and I think about 70, 75 showed. And we had a fantastic day until about mile 45, and the skies opened up, and we got absolutely drenched. Like, not an ounce of our body was dry, and it was one of those days where it was epic in the sense that you'll never forget it. So the ordinary things that we do, or the ordinary days on a bike, we kind of forget about. But it's the inordinary days that we remember. Man. So there are stories still being told today, and I think still will be told 5, 10 years from now about that day, because everyone had an experience that was unique. And the beautiful thing was we all got back here safely and finished, and the sun came out. And we had some fires burning and some heaters on in the barn, and people changed and dried out within 15, 20 minutes. And it was almost like it never even happened. Like,
yes. Well, there's a fine line to that suffering I've seen. It's where, it's kind of a little bit miserable. Yeah. But as long as it's not like hypothermic or really huge misery, it's okay. Because I know what you're saying. I've been to a couple events where I'm like, wow, that was really, really bad.
Yeah, it was stretched. Like, I mean, it was lightning, thunder, and absolute buckets down. It was it was heavy rain. Heavy rain. But anyway, back to what we were talking about. So we had a great year two, and when I decided that this is something I want to keep doing, and it's just too much fun to not do. I was certain about one thing, and that was I still wanted to participate. Like, this isn't something I do for money. It's not something I do to build a brand or to like. It's simply something I love. I have this thing about me, I think, that enjoys creating an experience for people that I know I'll enjoy, and I think others will enjoy. And so I kind of like to be at the center of the creation and curation of that experience. And so, yeah, I take a lot of fun, a lot of pleasure out of the development of this. But I wanted to still be able to participate. I didn't want it to be big enough that I had to kind of sit back and organize and administer, manage and babysit all day long.
Well, what do you think that number would be?
So in my mind, it was 100 people.
100 people.
Okay. You know, without a lot of effort, it's easy with the space we have here and you know, a group of 100 people out there. You know, we're gonna break up eventually, and it's gonna turn into little clusters of groups throughout the route. But yeah, so in my mind, it was 100, and so I capped the event for year 3, which we're coming up on, at 100. And,
so that's good advice then for somebody looking to start their own.
Yeah.
Because I know logistics pretty well, being in the military. And when you go over a certain threshold, there's things to think about, like parking, right? Parking.
Yeah.
There's bathrooms. Yep. You know, logistics of food supply. Logistics of space, and then logistics of length of the race, like spreading out, road closures, where the city's not going to get on you.
You kind of got to fly. That's a good point too. I wanted to fly under the radar enough that like this didn't become something that was so disruptive to the community or the spaces that we'll be in that are all public. But you know, there's other people recreating in some of these places, hiking, horseback riding, whatever the case may be. And yeah, at some point you don't want to be a burden to the point that it's.
So let's go back to then, if somebody is watching this video and they wanted to start their own bike event, it doesn't even have to be a race, it's just kind of a get together. Would you say maybe the best thing to do is just get together with some friends the first year and see how it feels, and then maybe decide if you want to do it the second year? Because I wouldn't want to make it, because I want more people to do these things.
So yeah, I definitely start small and with a group size that's manageable and with people that you can garner some feedback from. And that was big for me. So year 1, it was my friends who I knew rode and would be into something like this, and I also opened it up for them to invite someone or others that they knew who would also share a similar interest in the day. So it was kind of a closer, maybe 1 or 2 degree of separation network. And it's developed into something now that like there's probably, out of the 100 that are coming, there's probably 40 people 50 people I don't even know.
Well, that's great.
So yeah, but I wouldn't have wanted to do that year 1 because the expectation level is different, right? Like when you're So
how do you figure out? So once you go into it, and you say, okay, I have a route that's achievable, because you don't want to make 100-mile Sufferfest out of it. Something that's achievable, that can be executed in the morning, that gives us time to enjoy. Because one of the things I noticed with doing big races is that people are so exhausted at the end of the day, they just leave. And they miss out on that community.
No, the fun begins when it's over, man.
Right.
That's what this is all about.
So one of the things I look at is distance, and sometimes that distance can be pretty rough if you go too far. It's a different kind of event when the distances are super long. But I think somebody who's starting new, keeping the distance, I think, under 50 is a great idea. Like, you don't want it so short, like 20 miles, where it's over quickly. Like, I think somewhere around 40 to 60 is prime.
Agreed. And it becomes so yes, like I think one of the objectives was to make it as accessible to as many people as possible. Not everyone can jump on a bike and pedal 60 miles. And so I didn't want it to just be a certain group of people who can do that. I wanted it to be something that a lot of people could have access to. So 60 seemed right for me, but I think what drove that number more was just what we're capable of doing here. Like you go any longer than that, it really changes the route, puts a lot more road into it, and I wanted it to be as mixed terrain as possible. So it's amazing. Last year my route, again 60 miles, 40% of it was off road, And for me, that's just remarkable. In a county like this, it's as populated as it is, that has as much blacktop, surface roads that we can still do something like that. So anything bigger, I think, would have been hard to find more unpaved surface.
Right. So you pick a distance, you pick a route, you test it out, try it out the first year to see if this is what you really want to do. And then you have to figure out, like, you get in bike reg, how much do people pay so you can cover the cost? Because I think the worst thing is if you go into this and you don't charge people enough money and you're out like $500-600 yourself, you'd want it to kind of be paid for, and maybe there's a little bit of extra money left over or something like that. So how do you decide?
It was, I think year one was so small scale that it wasn't like we were spending thousands of dollars to do this. So I believe the number was $15 that I charge everybody, and it was simply just to cover the costs. We're buying some beer, we're buying some food, we're buying some aid station fuel, and that was really the cost that went into this. And I knew as we scaled up that those costs were going to continue to increase. You had mentioned something earlier about just kind of the pace of this day and it not being a race and people just enjoying one another. So that was a big piece of it too. I wanted the aid station to not be this like efficient pass through that you're filling your pockets and shoving something in your mouth as quick as you can. I wanted it to almost be a picnic, that like you showed up to a picnic,
right?
And the environment was such that you get off your bike and you really just enjoy whatever the 15, 20, 30 minutes that you're there. The environment and the surroundings were beautiful. So last year's aid station was tough to beat. We were in a really cool spot, and I think people really enjoyed that. But with that came cost. It was you were getting a lunch more than just some gels and a bar and some bottle fills. So I guess it just took a couple years of trying to figure out and massage like what is actually needed in the way of like resources and supplies for this, and what does that cost. And so like I've said a couple times now, it's all about just covering costs and making sure that that the cost of entry does that. And I wanted to back to the accessibility piece, like I wanted it to be something that if people committed to, they didn't feel like they were putting a whole lot of money into this. It was just something that was
so let's talk about, so the money aspect is something people don't talk about really that much when they get into events, but basically, so if you cap it at 100 and you say, okay, I generally know if I have 100 people and they buy a ticket for like, how much was it?
$30.
$30. So you have you have a budget, $3,000.
Yep.
$3,000 is not a lot of money.
No.
It's not a lot of money. If we're being serious, if you got to talk about food and the stations, like, for 100 people, $3,000 gets eaten up pretty quick.
It does,
And so if you're doing this, you do want to do something for the community. But I also would tell somebody that you got to be careful and protect. As a business person, you got to protect yourself because you don't want to be out $500 at the end either.
And that can happen quickly.
Yes.
That can happen quickly. And so that's the budget I've been working with. And I've had several people. Registration is closed, but I've had several people. I don't know what it is, 15, 20, who continue coming and asking, hey, can I get in? And I'm the type of person that like I want everyone to do this.
Right.
I hate turning people away. I love if everyone can participate, but there is a piece to like the planning and the budgeting and the money that goes into it that once you start adding more people, then your costs that you understood and felt confident about.
It changes your logistics.
Yeah, it changes all that.
That's why it's so difficult. So let's talk about that too. That's so important. You have to actually cap. So as an organizer, you got to cap the amount that you think you can handle without going over cost.
Right.
Because there's a thing with any business, especially if you're manufacturing or whatever, or there's this exponential growth in your overhead costs as you keep increasing something that can get out of control pretty quickly.
Right.
So it's smart to cap it And then 2, you have to put a time, right, when registration ends,
Right,
because
right.
you have to plan it out, right?
Exactly,
So
yeah.
how did you decide, like, when is your end date for registration?
Yeah, I think it was 3 to 4 weeks in advance of the actual event. And that just came down to simply me, you know, I've got a job, I've got life that I need to keep up with, and I'm fitting this into the nooks and crannies of the busy life that I live. So I wanted to have enough time managed to do that. But it also comes down to the folks who are helping me. Like, you know, I've got Violet Vintage Winery out in Burnville. They're hosting Aid Station number 2, which is at mile 43, and you know, they're a business. They're a winery. They've got a full kitchen, but they've got a plan for like purchasing of food and how we're going to kind of blend into their day and what that number is going to look like. And so, yeah, I just wanted to be courteous and aware of the fact that, like, you know, we're going to be a bit disruptive that day for them, and give them as much advance notice.
Because that's the thing too. I mean, and then again, and not to say, like, you're right. If I was running an event and I knew people that wanted to get in last minute, it's difficult to say no.
It is.
But because I guess what I would have to try to communicate is like, listen, I know you want to get in, but I also have 30 other people that now want to get in, and I can't just grow it like that. I have to stay with the plan, because there's consequences. Like if you were at 100 and you're in this company, the Vineyard, was only expecting maybe 100, but you roll in with 300, completely disrupts their entire operations.
Yeah, it's a fine line, because culturally, you know, cycling for me, everyone's always been invited. Like I've never been told I can't come on a ride, right? Like the people that I've come to love this activity with, this hobby with, you know, they're welcoming. It's a welcoming community, right? Right. And at least from what I've found, I'm sure there's different experiences out there. But so for me, it's like it kind of runs against the grain of that, because I've never been turned away from a ride, and now here I am having to say no to people about a ride that they want to be a part of. So, but yes, there's a logistics piece that I think plays into that, and unfortunately is, you know, something that needs to be.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, but
an element.
And it's different too. Like a 30-person ride with a group of friends is different than trying to organize something people are paying on bike reg for and have expectations for. And you have to kind of, you know, everybody has expectations with this. And you were doing this kind of as an organizer who enjoys organizing.
I do, yeah.
And I really wish we had more people like you that had the time to organize, because I think these are the kind of things that build communities and make positive changes in communities.
Yeah.
It really is. And I see that happening. But the crazy thing is, over the past 5 years, and with the problems we've had, which everybody knows about, which I don't want to mention the word on YouTube. But it has kind of killed the community a bit.
Right.
And we need people like you to kind of get things going again, where we have this cycling, and not even cycling, just outdoor community events, just getting people outside, because before we were stuck inside. Right. And and that's part of like what I wanted to do with Graba, is just get people outside, because I feel like some people have been left in this habit of not getting out enough, and we got to break them back out, get them back outside.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up. I was fortunate enough to grow up in a part of the area that, you know, I spent endless hours outdoors as a kid.
Me too.
My parents, most of the time, had no idea where I was, but they knew that I was okay, because, you know, I was, you know, the worst trouble I could probably get in was falling in a creek, or I don't know, you know, maybe trespassing on the farmer's property to find a fishing hole in his pond or something like that. Like it was, but I loved, and so I've grown this. I've developed this deep appreciation for nature and just being outdoors and wandering and looking for that next adventure. So I agree 100%. Like our time is best spent outdoors, I feel, and there's just so much available here for us. And
that's how I feel, man. I grew up exactly the same way. My parents had no clue where I was during the day, Like sometimes I didn't even come home for lunch.
Right.
Because I'd eat at a buddy's house.
Yeah.
We'd be riding bikes all
Yeah.
day or out exploring.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing childhood. I feel
It really was.
Yeah.
It really was. And I feel like on a bike now as an adult, you kind of tap into that a bit, you know, like still kind of tap into that childhood. And so, yeah, agree with you that it's these types of things are important to get people out, to draw us out of our routine and out of the four walls of where we live and into nature. But for me, like cycling it's a big piece of it. The exercise is great. You know, the fitness that we can achieve is rewarding.
Yep.
But my gosh, like I just want to be around people, and when you're able to do things with people, when you're able to be around people and do things that you enjoy doing together, it's just
win-win,
it's a dynamic experience. So yeah, that's for me. Being on a bike, most of the time has to be centered around being with other people and the social aspect that it brings. I fully believe we all need it. And yes, but I'm glad to be someone who's able to kind of provide this for the community and for the
Well, thanks, Jarred. Appreciate it. I look forward to riding it. It's next week. I look forward to doing the ride and documenting everything. And
awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what you create. It should be fun.
I know, it's going to be fun, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.